Greetings, humans. It is I, Lord Bael, here with another review. Today we're going to talk about the new Greyhaven release. America. Greyhaven is a spunky hardcore band with a lot of swagger. Their sound would be best described as southern hardcore, which is something I haven't seen pop up in a couple years. That genre was kind of in vogue for a little bit and it died off, and it's kind of interesting to see Greyhaven resurrecting this dead beast. While other bands certainly have incorporated southern rock sounds into a metal idiom, Greyhaven is really embracing that kind of drawl and swagger to the metalcore sound. It's very easy to draw comparisons of this record to releases from Every Time I Die and The Chariot and Maylene and the Sons of Disaster, but Greyhaven does a good job of expanding out from those other influences and really having a sound of their own. This is a full-length release, 10 tracks, with one bonus track, super hidden, at the end. So let's just dig right in. This release starts off with probably the best song on the album, Workhorse. They've reworked the intro to it. It starts off with just feedbacking guitars, and the vocals just kind of shout over the top of that. Incredibly reminiscent of Chariot records. And then we go into the song proper, which had been released a year or so prior to this. This recording of the song Workhorse is much better than the previous one, as would be expected from recording with Jordan Haynes. And that's probably the first impression I got from this record, is just how good it sounds. All the parts are really well placed within the mix. The bass is really good and punchy. The drums fit in well. The guitars sound the way they should. The vocals aren't over-processed, but they've got enough stuff on them to where, everything's clear and everything's audible. From there we go into track 2, Gran Torino, which is where you start seeing Greyhaven really incorporate some other influences and some different techniques and styles within their sound. The vocalist at one point in track 2 almost sounds like he's doing a Red Hot Chili Peppers vocal thing. How tough are the kids of California? I certainly had a good chuckle during that. A couple tracks later, on the song 59, Greyhaven incorporates an old blues standard, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? It's kind of interesting to see this band experimenting with some other stuff besides just, breakdown part. Track 8 is a ballad of sorts for the release. A little bit slower, more big strummed chords and less riffage, but equally effective as all the other songs. The final track is incredibly dark and brooding and ends with the listener feeling uneasy but satisfied. If they had stopped with just those 10 tracks, this album would have been a very excellent and solid piece from start to finish as a unit. Track 11 sadly doesn't really add anything to the experience. It's not really bad, it's just kind of tacked on. Personally, after listening through the album several times in one sitting, I just chopped that track off for future listens. It just doesn't really seem to fit at that point. So, barring the final track, those first 10 songs are incredibly good. As a unit, it's really well put together. It flows without being stale. The track order makes sense. There's enough variation between the songs to keep the listener interested without losing their attention. While there are some songs that feel a little more pieced together than others, overall the songs are all very well written. Vocally, this might be one of the more impressive hardcore releases I've listened to. The delivery is intense without being overbearing. He does a good job of mixing up the aggressive and harsh vocals with the clean singing, or southern drawl singing. The only complaint would be, while he is singing, he doesn't do a whole lot of variation within the notes. And while that is dependent on the key that the songs are written in, most of the singing parts tend to kind of sound the same. However, his aggressive vocals are again phenomenal. And a side note, he does pull them off flawlessly live. Going back to the track 59, the transition from the original music into the blues standard, Where Did You Sleep Last Night, musically is a little awkward. They change keys very abruptly and with no real transition. It just transposes down a tritone like that. They might have done this intentionally to throw the listener off, but it throws the listener off and kind of breaks the consistency of the record. Despite the few qualms I have with it, I do feel very strongly, positively about this release. I would give it a solid 7.5. I'm incredibly intrigued to see where this band goes. I certainly think this is a band to watch, and it's definitely a band to catch live. Check some of their tracks out here on YouTube. Let me know how you feel in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, I'm Lord Bael. I'll see you next time.